This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages, right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Bad Movie Club. This is where bad movies become manifest. It Durgles, Abe. Oh, man. I'm trying to put on the tired act, and I am tired. Can't even set this right. And the green screen's set up a little bit differently, so I gotta see about that. Looks a little funny in a couple places, like right here. So what's wrong right here? I don't know, I'll figure it out. Woo! This week was Wolfcop. What? Wolfcop. He's a cop that's a wolf. Yeah. So I don't know, I still haven't got used to this thing. It's alright. It's okay. We'll be here every day. Last gummy bear, I promise. I love the idea of doing a bad movie club. I don't have no monumentally bad movies to offer myself, so having other people involved would be fine. Now you want to scratch the box. You're such a dick, cat. So I'm going through movies that I've recognized from the past being bad movies. Pulling movies off a list. We pulled off theater mode. I'm happy to go back to that. The problem is that as much as I like tearing on a movie, I actually want to be able to see it. And that's the problem with like truly bad movies, like Mono's Hands of Fate. If I rated that movie, it would literally get a 10 for aesthetics because you can't see half the fucking movie. It's a technical nightmare. It's ridiculous. But so I think we're gonna go through and I'm gonna use this as an excuse to watch movies I want to watch. Wolfcop is actually something we did for a bad movie night in real life back when I was in Florida. So it was a lot of fun then. So I tried to have it be fun now. Met a couple people in chat who got into it. Is that better? Can't cover up the Wolfcop. Oh God, nightmare. Sure, there, that works. That's better. We can see it in all its glory. Oh, Wolfcop. Oh, looks his belly rubbed. Okay, so so this is literally a movie about a cop that becomes a werewolf. Oddly enough, it doesn't really necessarily make it a werewolf movie because typically that's from the perspective of the villain being the werewolf. And in this, the lead protagonist / hero of the story is actually the werewolf. And the villains are changelings. I don't know why we use changelings, but it mechanically fit the story pretty well. So I gotta give it that. The writing's actually pretty tight in this. Somebody mentioned that at the beginning of our viewing over on Rabbit/Camerai, and I did not believe them. I honestly did not believe them when the movie started. I was like, really? This? And then about a third of the way through, I was like, okay, they've got it. That first act covered it pretty well. And it's funny because it's like it keeps shitty movie, horror movie tropes. Like the very first scene is him getting out of bed from some woman who, like, I really don't think we clarify who that is. As far as I can tell, it's some redheaded woman or some ginger woman, and we don't see her again. Of course, she doesn't have her tits out, so maybe I was paying attention to the wrong parts. I don't know. I'm not a real detective. But the next scene is him drinking and driving in a cop car because apparently he's like a deputy in this small shit town, and so he's literally like just the worst. He's not necessarily very smart. He's lazy. He's, I don't know, like he eats donuts and drinks beer, and like that's his identity, and that's kind of sad. So in theory, he's someone that no one would really miss. So he ends up getting targeted for these ritual murders that are happening, and being covered up. And as they're investigating it, I guess he stumbles on just enough to become a problem. And then and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not gonna like do it all in chronological order per se, but I'm gonna go ahead and divulge some of the mysteries, if you will. So they're investigating the murders, and of course these are people who are being ritually sacrificed. I don't remember. Oh, that's right. It's through like black magic or whatever that they actually become werewolves. I don't know, it worked the other day. So it's essentially like a satanic curse, if you will. Because I was gonna say like a gypsy curse, but it's like, well, Satanists do curses too, right? Right? You gotta like sort out all your mythological bullshit at the door. This side, that's a dark corner. I gotta figure out what to do about that. What if I do this? It kind of worked. Anyways, so they are, I don't know. So it's the three changelings that are taking over town. They all three have like very prominent double lives. I think the one guy is both Willie, and he's what is it? He's an older gentleman, like on the town council or something. And then it's the hot bartender, and then she's also the mayor. And then it's the chief of police, but he's also the boss of the meth heads. Oh my god. So he's got like two small armies on hand, essentially. Oh, what's going on? They're getting feisty, which is good, because they're all prominent positions where they can stir shit. The fact that Willie owns a gun shop is actually a good identity, even if he is a kook, and he gets to have fun pretending to be crazy. While he has like the super responsible life on the other end of things. It's really interesting to see all that. They do a really good job on the practical effects. They have some really weird stylistic choices in how they do things, especially like with the monster hands and the monster teeth on the wolf. And then, of course, I have no idea why, but we have a dick first transformation. I was not my choice to do that. It would not have been my choice. I don't understand why that was the first part of him to shift when he was taking a pee. And then, of course, him being like a constant alcoholic apparently dulls the senses of the lycanthropy just enough for him to actually like take control and want to eat donuts instead of people. So that's good. That's nice. Of course, they send gangsters after him that first night when he's in the bathroom, and I think the idea, if I'm remembering correctly, the idea was that the bartender lady, who's one of the changelings, was setting him up. So like she had the other guy send some of his meth soldiers over to capture the deputy so they could drag him out to the woods and drain him later. But apparently he's all strong because he's drinking and eating donuts. I don't know what kind of message that's supposed to send to anybody, but so something between that and like with the eclipse, or the totality, whatever you want to call it, something amongst all that actually makes him like much stronger than the usual werewolves they find. I'm gonna go ahead and call it as a point of character, where apparently like they were for at least a few days they had been capturing and training people. Like they killed the other mayoral candidate. There's a bunch of animals that went missing. I don't know. Like the changelings in their true form look kind of reptilian. So like you can make those reptilian jokes all you want. So maybe they were eating the animals. I don't know. Like the whole point of it, I thought was supposed to be like the drain them and to use as essentially as batteries for the eternal youth or whatnot. That's just my impression. of what was happening. Excuse me. I'm really about half here. We gotta get through this. Okay, so I'm gonna check myself before you wreck yourself. So, oh yeah. So like, whatever. Apparently, he goes out running around the town. Willie manages to tranquilize him, and they put him in the cell for a night to try to record him transforming to get the proof of the world. Like the changeling guy really takes like his role seriously. Even if he's not doing his job right, like he was like supposed to keep the werewolf contained, but of course he just kept it distracted because that's the best he could do. Literally, like they locked him in a cell, and the werewolf literally just pulled it open. Those are pretty strong locks on those type of things. Let's see. It was really interesting. They took an artistic direction to not only have the lycanthropy boost his rage, but like all his baser instincts. So he has the urge to like pimp his ride out. He goes to attack the three little piggies at the shop, and he kills at least two of them, like outside, and he goes and beats the shit out of the other one if he doesn't kill that one. I didn't really stick around for the coronary report, you know? What are you guys doing? They don't like going in the bathroom very often. That's weird. And then, of course, like, later on, Willie manages to bring him back to the police station, and there's the hot bartender waiting for him. And, she's, of course, waiting to bang him because that's the natural event of things, is that, yeah, there's a werewolf in town, let me bang it. Hey, you get your kicks wherever you want. It's glad for the furry community that they have this, because there's not a lot of it out there, like, at least in legitimate movies, let's say. And I mean, this is actually a decent production too. So they actually kind of went like really nice and tender with it. It was kind of funny to see them put like nice music over it. It's like you got werewolf claws, like gentle touching, and then like there's kind of a sweet moment afterwards where they're like cuddling, and he's trying to like pull his pants up, and she gets him like a little drink, and for some reason she pours a some powder in his drink. And it's literally, it's like that big. You see my face, you can tell how big that is. To the point where he can like find and be like, what? So weird. It's like, did she really need to bang him? Was that part of the thing? Maybe she just hasn't gotten action in a couple hundred years. I don't know. It was just kind of a weird thing that like didn't really mash up with the storyline very much. But of course, there's the shock factor of like her turning into an old woman afterwards, just to kind of see the look on his face. Now, granted, because we eventually learned like their true form or whatever, that they look kind of reptilian. She could have done that too, or it could have done that too. I don't know. It, she, he, whatever. And like so, and that brings up so many questions to me. Like, did the changeling actually enjoy it? Is it like a thing they do all the time? Do they have more forms than just the two that they show us? Or the three they show us, because of course there's the true form and the two human identities they each assume. And you'd think with like all the guns at like Willie's place, like they would have, when like Tina finally gets involved and the deputy finally goes after him. Well, I guess he's captured. That's right. Okay, so they finally capture him and tie him up, I guess, with silver chains, and get him tied to a tree, which they did it wrong. They should have done him upside down, and then with like a trough or something underneath so that like they can drain him properly. They wasted a lot. Plus, they kind of just stab at him. They kind of just stick into him and then like let it bleed out. So not only does that like throw blood out onto the ground and down the shirt and everything, it's just silly. It's like you should hang him up and then cut the soles of his feet or some of the big tubes down by the ankles, and then get a bowl or something to catch it all. It's, come on, you're wasting stuff. It's like when you see a vampire movie and they do that crazy thing where like they bite into the neck and they're just like ridiculous. It's like watching someone eat mashed potatoes where they're just like nom, 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 nom. It's all over the back wall. They wasted so much food. Vampires who would live off that lifeblood are old enough and serious enough, unless they're super young, stupid vampires, maybe, to know that, like, hey, that's food, that's lifeblood. Why waste it? Unless the point is to show that they're bent on the delicacy of excess. And then Hail Slanesh. So it's funny that, like, they took the videotape out of the camera and smashed it, but they didn't take the security camera at the police station, which, it's a police station, it should probably have a security camera. And so Tina's actually smart enough to view the tape. She's wasting her time in that town. Like, she needs to go to get a detective credential and go to the city. Like, they talk about that at some point. So, like, she goes out there to help. She ends up shooting old One-Eye Meth Head. Because, yeah, I missed the part earlier. Like, he goes and fucks up, like, this meth lab out in the countryside. So, of course, that sets the gangsters up against him more. But he manages to get loose of the chains. Tina's, like, taking him out with her revolver or whatever. I think there's a point literally, like, in the barn or the meth lab or whatever, where he's just taking shots. And he literally rips some guy's face off, and they have a skull face for him. So there's some cool special effects throughout this movie. But by this point, he's taken up quite a beating. He's tired. He's weak. He manages to get a hold of, like, a Tommy gun and, like, kind of, like, shoots out into a crowd of the gangbangers, who are armored up, by the way. Like, they show up and their boss is like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he's like, "Have you seen what we're up against?" And then they've got, like, hockey pads and big bulletproof vests. Like, it really looks like what's it called? Attack dog gear. It's pretty funny, honestly. If I gotta be completely 100% honest about it, it's pretty interesting. She takes finding him wolfing out. "Hey, Green Fury, good to have you." Oh, I don't know if you're still there or not. I can't tell. Sorry, your high was behind the camera. Maybe I need to position that better in future. I had a point I was going on about things. Oh, Tina being so well adjusted to him wolfing out and everything, going to help and protect him. You would think, like, maybe she would want to grab a shotgun and go after him to hunt him down. But fortunately, like, we have her kind of on his side of all things. And why are we dropping so many frames? Oh, why am I just not noticing? Everything's wrong. I don't know, like, there's lots of fighting in this last big scene. For whatever reason, the let's call her the woman changeling, ends up bringing a sword to a gunfight. Like, she almost ends up taking out Tina, but, like, I think Tina gets it away from her. I really wanted a beheading at some point. There's a sword lying around. I mean, like, you'd think that'd be an option. But I think she ends up taking out the lady, and then, for whatever reason, like, one of the other guys, they just take her and, like, they stab her in the hip, essentially, and it should be, like, a pretty serious wound, but it's just not like, gonna put her out of the fight. It's really a weird distraction. It's like, come on, like, aim up by her tits and, like, put the sword through her, slit her throat, hack at her neck. She's not wearing armor. they're just, my point is that they're kind of lame bad guys that, like, they run this town really smart for a couple hundred years or something, and then it's just a fucking mess when, like, the littlest thing goes wrong. Like, they're so unprepared for anything serious to happen. And they're changelings. Like, every changeling story I've heard is always about kids, and they're always small, and they're always replacing kids so that other people can take care of them. Or so they can get things provided to them. So, like, adult change, it's just weird. It's not how I'm used to having changelings. But if I remember correctly, because I think I lost my notes here towards the end, is that he manages to stay a lycanthrope. So the sequel, which there is a sequel coming, the sequel is set up so that he keeps his powers, let's say, and then continues to fight crime as a wolf cop. So maybe the second one will be him going into the city to deal justice there, or maybe if they're gonna be really fucking lame about it, someone from the meth head group or whatever will get a bug up their butt and go after Tina, and they'll damsel her, and then if we're lucky from that point, she'll start fighting her way out, he'll start fighting his way in, and then they'll meet in the middle. It'll be like a really gross and bloody way of the thing where, like, the two people, like, bound across the meadow, and they're like, oh, okay, so that's a good way to end this. I don't know if I mentioned or not earlier. Now that I think about it, I think I mentioned Kevin Smith movies. So I am going to use this as an excuse to watch movies I want to rewatch until someone stops me. So next week we are doing Clerks. I'm going to go ahead and host it myself, so I figured out how to do this. I think I found a way around the problems that we had when we did Alien. Kept freezing. I think it was a network issue. So I think I'm going to try to host it off of the computer that I'm on now instead of the server, which just quiet isn't making more noise. And we'll see how that goes, and that'll give me an opportunity to practice that. That'll determine whether or not we continue on with the Kevin Smith saga, because I totally would like to do Mallrats after that. Chasing Amy, Dogma, Chainsaw Mob Strike Back. Going the Kevin Smith route gives me over a month's worth of movies to put on this product, and gives me time to come up with good stuff for it later. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So until you see me next time, I am Camerai, and this has been #WeAreMovieClub. Bad Movie Club. If I see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.